So financial solutions is what we are talking about today. Get ready to be inspired, enlightened and empowered as we delve into navigating financial solutions, building resilience and securing a future for our sector. Before we get stuck in, I'll give you a little bit of information about today's speakers. Dr. Allan Presland, he's the chairman of our Parenta group of companies, and he's the author of the Amazon #1 best-selling book, Improving the Business of Childcare. He owns multiple businesses in addition to Parenta, including a construction trades training business, a school uniform retailer, a digital marketing company, and several investment companies. He's also the founder, significantly, of the Parenta Trust, a charity which builds preschools for orphaned and disadvantaged children in Uganda and Rwanda. The Parenta Trust, we have 6 schools looking after 1,400 children at any one time. Allan will share with us today his expert proven tips for success in childcare. Anne Speight is the founder and owner of Prospect House Day Nurseries in Leeds, and she started her career in childcare nearly 40 years ago with her own children, and she soon became one of the most sought after childminders in the area. In 2005, Prospect House was born, and with the help of her dedicated team, the business has an ongoing cycle of continuous improvement to ensure that all staff are kept fully up to date on childcare learning and development. So Anne will be discussing with us today diversification, funding, charging for extras, everything you need to know about improving your childcare business. So Anne will kick off our webinar this morning. So without any further ado, Anne, I will share your screen and over to you.
As Gail said, I'm Anne Speight. I childminded when my children were little. I didn't start off in childcare before that. It was something that I thought I'd do for a few years whilst my children were little. And then I'd sort of move on to some sort of different career. But that didn't happen. I really loved the childminding and I really worked hard at it. I made it very successful. And when the children grew up, I thought it was time to move it out of the house. So very naively, I got a building and opened my door as a nursery. The years I'd been childminding, I spent a lot of time collecting qualifications because, as I say, I didn't start off in childcare. But I lived just around the corner from the local FE college, which was really handy. And I did my level 2, my level 3, and my level 4. I did lots of small courses on childcare. And when I opened the nursery, I thought I knew it all. But nowhere ever along the way had anybody said, you are going to be a business now. You need some business knowledge. And I really sort of hadn't got a clue what I was doing in that sense. So as it happened, can we have the next slide on that, please? My oldest daughter was working in business and didn't like the job she got. And she said, I'll give up my job and for 3 months I'll work for you and then I'll have looked around and found a different job and I'll have sorted your business side out of it. Well, actually, she still works for us now. So as she works part-time, she works about 20 hours a week on my business. She doesn't do childcare. She doesn't particularly like the children. If on the rare occasion she has to step in her room for an hour, she's well out of her comfort zone and she hates it. But she does our business. And I think that's where a lot of us start wrong. We all want to do childcare. That's what we've done. That's what we enjoy doing. I have no business knowledge. The local authority put lots of courses available to me, particularly in the early years. We had a Labour government. They were ploughing money in left, right and centre. I've got certificates on persona dolls, physical education with children. I've got tons of them. But nobody ever from the local authority or anywhere gave me any business advice. So we floundered along, and as I say, Rachel joined the team and she solely works on the business. And I think every business has to have somebody who, whether it's you as manager, who does not work with the children for probably 20 hours a week, depending on the size of your setting, or you employ somebody who can do the business side, because you are a business and there's all those things that you need. I'm really good with the children, really in there, and I spent a lot of time trying to defend what we were doing for the children. And parents wouldn't pay, and I'd be saying, but the children are better off here than at home. They come from a really troubled family. and lots of things. And if Rachel hadn't been really tough with me, we would have probably gone under or not made the money we had. So we've had to have a business plan. And we change our business plan as times change on. The local authority have come a bit more around to thinking about it, and they are now giving us lots of more financial help, I think, with special needs children and things like that. But then they're not very good at telling you what they've got on offer. You've got to find it. So hopefully I'll come to some of those things about what you can claim and what, you know, is out there really. And I'm sure there's other bits and pieces that you may know that I haven't come across or Rachel hasn't come across. But she spends her time solely on the business side of it. So yeah, can we have the next slide, please? Yeah. So where does our money come from? Well, we live in a very affluent area of Leeds, but it does have pockets of deprivation. That's how the local authority describe us. I think you've come a slide too far. Oh no, yeah, back to the one with the Wellington boots on if we can. Yeah, that one. So the local authority sort of, sorry, I've lost my thread now, but yeah. So we live in an affluent area. The local authorities describe us as an affluent place with pockets of deprivation. So we've got quite a mix. We've got families who can't qualify for their 30 hours of childcare because they earn too much money. And we have families who live in real poverty as well. So we've got a mix. So where does our fees and our money, everything that we sort of get come from? And the large bulk of it is from parents' fees. We're a nursery that's open from 7:30 in the morning until 6 o'clock at night, and we take from about 6 months old till they go to school. So the most of our money comes in on parent fees. We do, as I say, have pockets of deprivation. So we do get children who are funded, and I'm not talking about the new funding that's coming in, but we do get some 2-year-old funding. And you claim that through the local authority. In Leeds, parents who would qualify should get what they call a golden ticket. So they get a letter through the post with a golden ticket with the details that we need to know on, and they come along and find their own nursery and give us the ticket, and we use that information to claim the 15 hours for them. And they call children in a deprived background. So we have some of those children, and they come, as I say, funded through the local authority. Some of them are already with us at that point. There may be a one-parent family, mum's always worked. So we try to be very aware of those that might be able to claim that 15 hours funding for the 2-year-old, helps parents and things. Then a large majority of our children are 3- and 4-year-olds, so we get the universal 15 hours for all the children. That's children who are, everybody's entitled to 15 hours, regardless of their parent status. If they're working parents, if both parents are working, if they're together, or one parent's working if they're on their own, they get 30 hours. As I say, we do have about 6 or 7 children in nursery here who parents don't qualify for the 30 hours because their parents earn too much. Equally, we'll have about 10 children in nursery whose parents don't work full time or whatever, so they only qualify for the 15 hours because of their funding. We have quite a few children in nursery, and more than we've ever had before. We've gone down a line of specialising in this because I've got a member of staff who really is involved with special needs children. But we claim EYFFI for it, which is inclusion funding. You claim that through the local authority, and you claim it through the Senate team, not your just normal advisory team or your funding team. And that is for children who have got some disability. They don't have to have a diagnosis. It's up to the Senate team to come out and award you whatever they feel is correct. There's a very strict criteria, and it comes in bands. So you might have a child who's got communication difficulties, and they'll be awarded a proportion of money for that. There might be one for physical. Some children get 2 or 3 bands for whatever it is. And that's up to the Senate team from your local authority to award you it. And it can be a significant amount of money. It can be sort of up to, one band can be about £6,000 for the year for a child. Child who's claiming 3 bands can, get quite a substantial amount of money for the nursery for us to put in what we need to do to help that child. The Senate team gives us lots of advice. They work with parents as well, and they work with parents at home who might need extra support from home. But here they come out, we set up a programme, and as long as we're meeting that programme, they're happy to fund it. Then there's SENDIF, which is another funding through the Senate team as well. And that's for children who don't meet those bands but have some additional needs. It's quite a new, it was out before COVID, but not very long before COVID that came in. And in Leeds, in our local authority, we all got advice on it. We claimed for 17 children that year, and we were the only setting in Leeds that claimed for it. And our Senate team often say it's very underfunded, very underclaimed. People just don't know about it. We've had funding, which is not massive, but it's a few £100 for children who have a patch on their eye, on their glasses, and we have to take it on and take it off. We had a little girl who had an hearing aid, and we had to help support her get used to it and use it. She had funding. As I say, we can claim up to about 16 or 17 children on our books. We are a 100-place nursery, so we are big, but we do claim that as well. And sometimes people say, oh, you claim all sorts of things and it's claiming and are you entitled to it? But the local authority clearly see that those children should have extra support and we need the extra finances to do it. So we do claim it, and as long as we are actually meeting those children's needs, and it often means we can employ an extra member of staff for them. We do have 1 or 2 children who have constant one-to-one while in nursery, but we try to have extra staff for them. We can buy all the resources that we need. We have a little girl who has a walking frame and a special chair, and they're great big and bulky, and we used a bit of the money to buy a shed outside in the garden so we could store all the equipment because we just didn't have the space to do it. And as I say, mostly it goes on extra staff so that my staff aren't stressed out. Some staff really enjoy the fact that they've got a different sort of a role. It's their thing, working with additional needs children. Some staff don't want that, and that's fine. But it gives people sort of that incentive to stay with us, really, because they're really involved with those children. And it's a line that they've gone down that they really enjoy. Then we move on to pupil premium. And I know Ofsted always ask about pupil premium. It's for low-income children who are 3 and 4-year-olds. All our funded 2-year-olds get pupil premium, and quite a few of the other children do get pupil premium. It's for children from low-income families, or if they're in the care of the local authority, and sometimes if they've got an additional need. Pupil premium, Ofsted make you tell them what you use the money for, and it has to be for those individual children. And it has to meet their need. We can't just say, oh, we've bought this because all the kids love it. It really has to be individual to that child. We use a lot of our money because a lot of our problems are on speech and language. So we spend quite a lot of our money on a private speech and language therapist who comes in 1 day a month, and she works with each of the children. The parents often come in and see her in setting. She sets up a program for us, and we use their pupil premium for that. Other children, where there's a lot of children in the family and they're only funded and they're term time only, we sometimes use that to fund a day a week through the school holidays so that there's some continuity. We use it for a variety of things, whatever is best for that individual child. You have to be very aware. Ofsted do want to see what you're doing with it and what a difference it makes to that child. But again, I mean, this term, this term alone, each pupil premium child got about £140 each for the term. So it's quite a significant amount if you've got quite a few children that are using it. So as long as it benefits that child, it's great. Yeah. And then there's deprivation uplift, which the local authority decide. It comes from the funding department. They look at the amount of children in your area. I'm never 100% sure how they work it, but what they said to me was, we look at the amount of children in your area that would claim free school meals, and we give you a proportion of that. So again, it works out about £1,000 a year, comes into our things. We can use it for the whole setting. We've used it several times to buy all-in-one snowsuits so that when the weather's bad, we can play out in all weathers, because some of the children don't have appropriate clothing, especially if they come in cars. But it's still money that we can put in our pot. We don't have to justify what we spend it on. It goes into the pot. So there's that. There's also, and I missed this one off, milk money. So we all claim every child's entitled to roughly a third of a pint of milk per day that they're in your setting. You claim that through welfare food. Our system does it very good, but there is companies that try and do it for you. I don't know if they take a small fee or whatever. They deliver your milk for you, but we use a local milkman. And we just claim it. Our system works it out very quickly. It's a 2-minute job. Again, it's something our business person does for us. Rachel does that. But that is really well worth it. Yeah, lovely. So the funding, obviously parents often come to the door and they're looking for a place for a child, and they say, we want the free childcare. I know many of us in childcare all go when they say that. It's not free. The funded childcare is not free to everything. So I look at what would, obviously the local authority can be quite picky on what you can charge for and what you can't charge for, but we look at a service and we offer it completely free, and I look at what schools would offer. We've got 2 schools in the area that have a school nursery, and I look at what they offer free. And it's 38 weeks of the year. It's not 52. It's not even 39 like you think a school term academic year is. Usually it's somewhere between 9 and 3 o'clock or 8:30, and they have a lunch break. It doesn't include any food. And that service we offer to parents. Well, we actually offer 9:30 till 11:30, and 12:30 till 3:30. With no food in and no lunch break, and that is completely free for parents to take that offer. And it's the 38 weeks of the year. We tend to pick the very first week in September as the week that they wouldn't get as a year, because obviously sometimes we still have school children left from the previous year. Because they don't start school for middle of September, so they might come back in. So if we give that free week, the week that they're not entitled into. And I've got to say, very, very few people take that up. As I say, we live in quite an affluent area. The majority of our parents are working parents. They want 7:30 in the morning and they want till 6 o'clock at night. They want to drop their children off, pay their monthly fee, and off they go. So we then offer a premium service to parents, and they can pay a sort of this is what we offer per day. So if you use us from 7:30 to 6, you want breakfast, lunch, tea and snacks in that. You want all year round. You want the additional things that we offer, and we offer in our classes French to our preschool children. Our 2-year-olds do a yoga class. Our younger children all do signing. So if they want those extra classes, they want to join in all those groups with everything, we charge a fee for it. So they get their 30 hours off the fee, but everything else goes around it. So if they're using us full time all year round, probably if they weren't claiming anything, they weren't getting any of the 30 hours or the 15 hours. If a full-time child, their bill would be well over £1,000. But by the time they've come down, their bill is more like £400 because they've got all year round to cover. And that's really where they sort of the service that most of our client group want. We work it out over a year, what exactly the amount of days that they're in, the time that they come in, and they tend to like to pay for it in a 12th of their fees, so that they've not got a massive lump in the school holidays or anything. They like to divide it up, but we always offer that completely free service to parents that want it, and that tends to be more the children who just do the 15 hours and they might choose every morning out of our session and things. Got to say, we do only have one little girl in the preschool room who comes in the day that they do French, and she doesn't pay for it, but we just put her in the class anyway. It's too much to not involve her. But parents are aware, sort of know that if they want all those extra things, that they pay for it. And they're quite happy. We're open right at the beginning of what they'll pay for, and they decide on that. So, yeah. So we have other streams of income, which sort of swap and change as our business is developed. But when we first opened, we did before and after school. Quite a few of the funded children have left by 3 o'clock, don't come in while 9 o'clock. So we sort of approached parents and said, oh, your child's going to school in September. It's a big jump from nursery to school. You still need that wraparound care. The schools out of school clubs are really full in the area. So for the first year or two, we can do before and after school. If you're a setting that's on school grounds, there should be no reason why you can't go to the neighbouring school to pick up. All the schools in our area have got out of school clubs, and they all so they all have out of school clubs. But they might have about 40 places in their out of school club, and they might have about 500 children at their school. So there's never enough places for the out of school club. So we do before and after school. We also do a little school holiday club. We've got the space for that as well. So we do a small school holiday club, and that filled in a lot, particularly the funded children who only come in term time only. We had spaces there so we could do that. Actually, the out of school club business grew that big, and that many people wanted our service and didn't want to leave or couldn't get places at the school out of school club. We've had to find new premises for that. And now we have a big out of school club with a holiday club. It's called our 567 club, and it's a 100-place club. It's based in premises just over the road from us, and we've got 5 schools in the area, and we pick up 100 children every evening from that. So it has developed into its own business, its own right, but it did start small, and when we were struck for money, it really did make a difference to us. So yeah, so the school holiday club, again, in our holiday club now, we have about 50 children most days through the school holidays, and we can cover some teacher training days and things like that. So it's very popular and very well subscribed. So it does bring in a lot of extra money. When we first opened, we eventually had to employ a cook as we grew. So we have a cook, and whilst he cooks, he always makes extra, and he puts it in pots and he freezes it. And for a long time, we sold it to parents. They'd come in and they'd see what was in our freezer and they'd buy a meal. It didn't cost us hardly anything to make it extra because it was what he was making for the children. The parents were seeing the food that we were serving their children and having it themselves. But when they'd had a busy day at night, they'd come in, they'd go, I've got nothing for tea. What have you got in your freezer? And we were selling them. We don't do that as much now, but we do sell it to staff. Our staff all buy their meals here from our chef, and they're £1 each, which we've helped with staff retention and the cost of living crisis. So if they have a good cooked meal at lunchtime, and they can buy one to take home if they want. That's, again, as we've got more financially better off, we offer that just at a small cost. But we used to sell a lot to parents at a reasonable price, and they really enjoyed it. And they used to talk a lot about food to their friends, which had encouraged their friends to bring their children to us because the food was lovely. and things like that. Yeah. If parents want to change sessions, we do charge an admin fee for it. So if somebody wants to change their child's day, if we've got a space, some parents were doing it all the time just because they got some flexibility at work and things like that. So they were doing it all the time, and we just spent a lot of time doing it. So they still do it quite a bit if we've got the places, but they do know there's an extra charge for that. Also, if somebody books in an extra place, now we sell a term time only place or an all year round. About a third of our children are term time only, mostly teachers. We, not being funny, but teachers are really good payers. They rarely don't pay their bills, so there's less hassle from teachers. But come the school holidays, particularly the big school holidays, they tend to go, oh, we're away for 2 weeks. Can I book them in an extra day? So just to keep them into nursery, just to keep them in that way, give us a day off ourselves and things like that. So a normal day would cost them £65 to pay. But if they want to book in an extra session when their child shouldn't be in, it's £70. And they quite happily pay that. It's very rare that they'll go, oh, no, I won't bother. And because we're always upfront about it, if they think, oh, I'm not too sure about that, they can make other arrangements. Grandparents can be, they're often at home. If they can't afford it, that's that. But we do book in a lot of extra sessions through the school holidays. And we do have a registration fee when parents start, and it is non-refundable. It covers settling in visits when they're starting, before they've started, and the children come in for little visits. There's all our admin costs, and once we've accepted, it guarantees that child's place. It's non-refundable. If they book 6 months in advance and don't come to us, and they go, oh, I'm going to go to the nursery down the road, can I have my deposit back? It's non-refundable. They've signed that right early on. They know it's non-refundable, so it's ours. We haven't kept a place open for them and lost the income from it. Yeah. So yeah. Things about how I learned to be a business. As I say, I had no business experience to begin with. It was completely out of my comfort zone. Rachel stepped in. She'd worked in businesses before, but again, she hadn't run a business. She worked for somebody. So we've grown and developed. The local authority never offered us any help. And we would buy books on how to improve your business. It would say silly things like, have the smell of coffee in your reception area. We don't have a reception area like that. We don't have coffee. We've got all children. All the things that they were suggesting, have nice away days. We can't do all that with 100 children. So they were lovely ideas, but they weren't meant for our business. One of the things that we really have found invaluable is a good software package. We can look at our future planning on it. We look at what we're charging. We look at how much we're going to make. We know who's paid for what, everything. A good software package is worth its weight in gold. We can predict, we can put in things that, well, if we do it this way, will it work that way? If we do it that way, will we make more money? Will this work? Will that work? So we often sit and put stuff in and take stuff out, probably end up back where we were originally, but we can see very quickly by spending a morning moving stuff around where would be best for our business. Yeah. We have to have someone in the business who looks at it as a business, like any business, and not childcare. Childcare workers are often very passionate about the children, very passionate about their families, very passionate about what the children need. But somebody has to have a business head. Somebody really does have to have a business head. They really have to say, that is a big mistake, you can't do that. Let's look for some funding for this child, not just take them. And really, because we've done that, often we can help families that we couldn't have helped if we hadn't have been a business, if we hadn't had a good, solid business practice. So if the bank balance is good, I can sort of help families that I need to do. We had a family last year. They'd had 3 children with us. The third child was in the last 6 months with us before they went to school. Dad was very ill. He had cancer. He couldn't work. They were really struggling as a family. And because I could afford it, I said, I do not want any more fees for that family. Your child comes in whenever you need it, and you don't pay us anything. And I could afford to do that and help that family when they really needed it, because we got a good business plan. And I wasn't driven by people getting in a lot of debt and not paying us and not charging enough and all those other things. I could help that family when they needed it because I could afford to do. And they were the family that really needed it at that time. So I feel I can do a lot more for the children and the families by being quite strict with the business. One of the things that, and you'll think I planned this, and I really haven't. Quite a lot of years ago, I bought this book, and as you can tell, it's very grubby and it's very sticky. And I bought this book because, as I say, I bought loads of books that weren't very good about your business, but it said to improve your childcare business. So I thought, I'll give it a whirl. I'm quite a book person, so I liked it. And it was written by Allan, who's in charge of Parenta. And it was an eye-opener. It was a real game changer for me. It talked about childcare people who thought it was shameful to make a profit. That was me. It talked about lots of really practical things that you could do in your childcare business, and it was about your childcare. It wasn't about any other business. It has a bit on marketing, it has a bit on accounts, it has a bit on finances, it has a bit on predicting things, it has gaining extra income, lots of small tips. Some of them I think, oh, that wouldn't really fit with us. And some have really emanated. So if numbers are a bit down, out comes the book. And I know sometimes my staff look at me when I get the book out and I go, right, come on, let's go down this way. But we get up the right chapter and we have a go at it, and it usually solves our problem. So although he doesn't pay me to promote his book, it really has been invaluable for us. Yeah. So that's me done. Thank you very much for listening. I hope it was helpful.
Thank you so much, Anne. That was great. And no, you don't get royalties for selling Allan or promoting Allan's book. I'm sure he'll be very pleased. Allan, would you like to start? Are you sharing your own slides, or is Gail doing it for you?
Good morning, everybody. Hopefully I'm sharing my own slides if technology works. And thank you to Anne. I didn't expect you to say all of that, so that's very kind of you. There we go. All right. So you should all be able to see my slides. Can you see just the one slide or every slide?
Just the one.
Perfect. All right, well, let's get going then. So again, thank you to Anne. Very, very kind what you said, and hopefully we can add some value to everybody today. The book that Anne just waved at you, I actually had published in 2017, and that was based on a lot of research that Parenta did during a survey that we ran in 2016. But added to that, I've been to at least 1,000 settings over the course of my career. I've run Parenta now for 24 3/4 years, so 25th year next year. I've been to probably way over 1,000 settings now, not just in the UK, in many other countries. And what became really clear as I went to those settings is you could see really, really clear patterns of what I called successful businesses and non-successful businesses, successful settings and non-successful. I didn't want to use the word profit in the book directly, although Anne mentioned it. I didn't want to use that word specifically because I know a lot of people had an issue around it. So we used the word successful. What does success look like? What do those settings who are successful do against those settings who are less successful? So the book, as I said, looked at all these different challenges within the sector. And it looks at marketing and it looks at finance, it looks at all the key elements. But the key underlying factor here was to identify why those people were successful against why those people weren't. And quite interestingly, and this is a coincidence, we're actually rerunning that survey right now. So on the Parenta website, anybody can go along, you can undertake the survey. It takes like 3 to 4 minutes, and I'll show you the categories shortly. but it takes about 3 or 4 minutes, and it gives you a score against each of those categories for you to compare your business against how we see generically all these other businesses that we work with. And the intent there is not to say it's good or bad. The intent then is just to say, well, the average successful nursery does this, and your score against that is X, Y, or Z, whatever it may be. The important thing, though, is that that survey is completely free. There's no costs. We're offering an obligation consultation afterwards. We're not trying to sell anybody anything. What we're trying to do is sort of give back to the sector and say, well, what we have learned, we would suggest, based on your score, this is what you could do. What's really interesting is the first question that we asked back in 2016 was, do you expect to make a profit this year? And interestingly, half of everybody we surveyed said yes, they expected to make a profit. And we've been running that survey for, I think, about 3.5 weeks. And so far, the data that we're running is giving exactly the same answer. Half of all of the settings that we've engaged with expect to make a profit this year. So again, the question becomes, despite all the constraints within our sector, about all the nonsense around funding, and let's not pretend any of that is fun, still half of the settings that we work with or that have undertaken our surveys think that they will be profitable this year. If we look at the questions we asked, we divide it into 5 different categories: finance, admin, marketing and onboarding, staff and parent experience. And as you can see, this is the data set that we've collected so far over the last 3 weeks. And typically people are getting a score of around 58%. But as you can see, the majority is in the orange zone. And what I hope we're able to do when people undertake the free consultation is we can help them get slightly out of the orange zones and into the green zones. But really importantly is the one area that most people are lacking, or most people are not as good as perhaps they could be, is on marketing and onboarding. So that's really what I want to focus on today, is just give you some tips and some insight onto marketing and onboarding, and also onto finance. And I'll do that just by giving you a couple of examples and a couple of stories, which I hope will highlight some of the issues which we're finding. If we look at marketing onboarding, the first question I always ask to everybody is, how full are you? Now that seems completely obvious. It seems a relatively sensible question. The number of weird answers you get back is incredible. The number of arguments I've had with setting owners in the past who swear blind that because the national average for occupancy is around early 70s, 72 or something like that, that 72 is full. 72% is full. It isn't. 100% is full. And so every single person on this call needs to be working out how do they get their business to 100% and a waiting list all the time. The other questions we ask are about how you generate inquiries. How much is a lead worth to you? Do you know where your inquiries come from? And is your website effective at generating inquiries? And with those 5 questions, if I'm in a setting, I already know whether they're profitable or not, whether they're successful. Because those settings, those nurseries who are focused on how they bring new customers, which they are, customers, into the setting going forwards, are the ones who are successful. How much is a lead worth to you? This is a really important question. And it's the one that the vast majority of setting owners unfortunately get wrong. Anne just said to you, on average, monthly fees are about £1,000. So let's just run with that number. And let's assume you have a child who comes in 6 months and stays for 4 years. And let's again, £1,000 a month. That lead is worth £48,000 to you. 1,000 times 12 times 4. £48,000. Now, if you suddenly think of it in that manner, that inquiry, that one inquiry that's come through is worth £50,000 to you, suddenly, I would hope everybody would be treating that inquiry in a very different way than they do today. Because that's such a profound amount of income to the business over that period. And I think, and my experience says, that most of the most of the settings we work with think about the cost in terms of the advertising cost. But it's the wrong way around. This is about the value this opportunity brings. So perception is everything. And I want to give you a quick story about a setting I went to many years ago. And they'd asked me to come in and they'd asked me to review what the setting not looked like, but how it operated. And they asked me to look at all the commercial aspects of the nursery. This is a small chain, I think 4 or 5 settings, and they just opened in this most beautiful, beautiful building with these lovely arch windows. And I appreciate most settings aren't of this ilk, but it had, or they had dedicated a really lovely waiting room for parents. It's a really, really smart place, beautiful sofas, magazines on the tables, lots of cushions. It really was a lovely place to come in and wait. So we rocked up at the door, we'd go on through. Yes, we're here for a show round. They didn't know who I was, the nursery staff. We go in for the tour and we're shown into the waiting room. The waiting room had been trashed. There was crisps all over the floor, had been trodden in. All the magazines were on the floor, half of them were ripped. So this setting owner had made all of this effort to make this really lovely space to welcome parents in, remembering the value of parent is about 50,000. But nobody had bothered to clean up after some children had been in there earlier. And my point here is perception is everything. It was such a wasted opportunity. The other thing that happened, we went round the setting, and again, it was the most amazing place. And I think they were about 50% full. I don't remember exactly. But it clearly needed to get my business. And we finished off and we walked out the car park. And as always, are there any questions? No, none at all. Shake hands, goodbye. Sorry, that's not good enough. Where was the close? Where was the engagement? Where was them identifying if I needed a space for my child urgently? Where was them turning around and saying, right, we have scarcity. We only have 5 places left. Whereas adding urgency. Okay, we've got lots of people coming. We're worried that if you don't book this place, you might not have an opportunity. The whole sales engine, the whole sales capability, and I know it's difficult for most childcare providers to think this way because you're also passionate about children. But Anne's right, you have to think about it as a business. And in this instance, when it came to the close, they didn't even bother. They simply said, thank you very much, goodbye. That doesn't work. So one of the things I urge in the book is that people put in proper systems for sales. And not only do they put those systems in place, but they need to start to measure the performance of each different member of staff who undertake a show round so that they can learn from each other, so they can find out who's the most successful closer. And I know it's a horrible word again, it sounds like double glazing, but it's real. They need to identify who are the best people for doing this and then educate everybody else. Oh, I went backward, excuse me. The next thing I just wanted to talk about is finance, and particularly leaky buckets in finance. And one of the questions we asked in the survey, or sorry, it's 2 questions in the survey which we asked, and they're interlinked. And the first one is, are your invoices always accurate? And then the next one is, are you confident you have no revenue leakage? And we asked those specific questions for a reason. On the left there, you've got the summary of the answers for are your invoices always accurate? And 75% of the people who've completed this survey are saying, yes, my invoices are always, always accurate. And yet on the other side, we've asked about revenue leakage. And 35% of people are saying they're confident they don't have any. 42% are saying they've never even heard of it. And 23% not at all. Well, those 2 sets of data don't make sense. They contradict each other. So just to explain, revenue leakage is when you're not billing properly for all the sessions and all of the items that are provided in your setting. So again, let me relay a quick story. And for those who have read it in the book, I apologize, but it's an interesting one. One of my daughters, this is some time ago, she was attending an annual school club run by the nursery chain, much like Anne described. And I knew the MD and the owner of this small chain very, very well indeed. It's not the same one I mentioned earlier, but I knew him well. I knew him both socially and I knew him as a customer. And my daughter had attended this session. And every time I bumped into this guy, so over a period of about 6 months, every time I bumped into him, I asked him, are you sure you have no revenue leakage in your business? Again, we had a professional relationship and we bump into him and I throw that into the conversation. Are you sure you're billing for every single thing? And the reason I kept asking this is because I never received a bill for my daughter. She had been there at that point 3 or 4 months and we never once paid for her. And then it got to 5 months and we still haven't paid. We've still not received a bill. And we got to 6 months and we still haven't received a bill. And at that point, I got a bit embarrassed and sort of confessed and said, well, hang on, I can't say the name, but hang on, mate, there's a problem here because you're not billing thoroughly for all the children. Well, that's insane. That's insane. You guys are under so much pressure. And wages in this sector are so poor, and you're not billing properly. Now, I don't mean to be cruel about that point. I suspect most businesses in the UK aren't billing properly. I even know that in some instances, Parenta isn't billing properly, and we're working on it. It's a really, really, really common thing. But I suspect, and it's a guess, that based on my experience of the settings that we've worked with, I reckon 75% of settings in the UK aren't properly billing for everything. There's one to give some thought to. We're redoing the survey, as I said now, and the survey is for free. I've already explained it compares against the most successful settings. And with that, we provide a no obligation consultation. And I just want to reiterate this point about no obligation. Everybody thinks, oh, you get a free 45 minutes consultation. They're going to sell a load of stuff to you. There are so many tips and tricks that we're aware of, having been in this sector for 25 years. And once we know where the issues are in your setting, which we can identify from the survey, okay, we can tell you how to solve them. And the vast majority, not all, but the vast majority of the solutions that we can help you with do not cost anything. Those that are costings, like, for instance, training, we, as most of you will know, get 95% of the fees from the government. We're also offering for anybody on this call a free review of your website. So all you've got to do is send us your details and we'll do a review and send you a report on it. Again, if it's great, perfect. If it isn't, well, you now know that every single inquiry that's coming into you is worth £50,000. So take up the offer. Let's get it checked for you and see where we can go. So let me conclude with some points. Despite all these horrific funding constraints that we have in this sector, half of all settings remain profitable. And in the 7 years between the book and now, that number hasn't really changed. Anne is right. Number one, you have to treat your business, your childcare business, as a business. And when you do so, everything changes. Now, I'm very much aware that the vast majority of people in this sector, and I suspect the vast majority of the people on this call, are childcare experts. They provide absolutely phenomenal levels of childcare, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about making sure that the business aspect is right. Please, please introduce comprehensive systems for invoicing. Okay, and if you're not sure you haven't got revenue leakage, check. You've got to go, it's hard, you've got to go through every single invoice and cross-reference it, but I would suggest that that exercise in itself will pay for itself. If you haven't got proper fee collection systems in place, you must have. This is so important. The cost, don't forget, when we run a business, and this applies to any business, when we all run a business, it's not about profitability, it's about cash. It's about having cash at the end of the month to pay all the bills and pay all the staff, and hopefully have a tiny bit left for yourself. And I know so many nursery setting owners who are so stressed getting through that month end. Okay, that is solvable by putting in place proper fee collection systems. Now, that element isn't free, but it's very cheap indeed. And again, if you have a consultation, that my team can explain to you how to do that. But I cannot express to you what a game changer it is when you have those systems in place. And incidentally, the survey suggests that just under 40% of settings do not have software in place. So if you don't want to take it from me, bearing in mind I own the company that produces it, take it from Anne, who said earlier on what the difference it made to have software in place. Number 3, unless you are 100% full, and I mean 100% full with a waiting list, you must be generating more leads. And you need to be looking at your onboarding systems and finding out how you can generate more customers into your business. Again, that's something we can help with, and we haven't got time to go through the in-depth elements of that today, but that we have a lot of systems and a lot of knowledge, and the consultants can provide you with ideas on that. Most of it is free again. Just reach out to them and they will help support you in putting systems in place. And finally, this isn't a point which is directly in the survey, but as a sector, we all know we have a profound level 3 crisis. We all know this. People are leaving left, right, and centre. It is happening all the time. Take on an apprentice. If every single, there are 18,000 nursery, 18,500 nurseries in England, 23,500 nurseries in the UK, 42,000 childminders, about 12,500 preschools, 12,500 preschools. If every single setting took on an apprentice in 18 months' time, we wouldn't have a crisis. But remember, if you take on a 16 to 18-year-old, the government pays you a grant of £1,000. So it's a double win. A, you get some money for it. B, it costs you, it doesn't cost you anything for a 16 to 18-year-old. So you effectively have another member of staff who will be a proficient member of staff in 18 months' time and get paid for doing so. That's it from me. I'm very, very happy to answer any questions, and I'm sure Anne will be too. So please feel free to ask away. And of course, usual rules apply. If we can do anything to support you, me individually or Team Parental, just reach out. We're more than happy to answer any questions now, but even if not now, you know, my contact details, all of our contact details are available. I believe we're sending a copy of the book, Adele, out to everybody who's been on this call. So it'll be an electronic copy. I think Anne's right, a hard copy is better. But at least you get an electronic copy and you can see if it's rubbish or not. So it's up to you. You can make a decision whether it's worth paying the whole £12 to get a hard copy from Amazon. But anyway, a soft copy will be on its way to you. So I'll stop talking. Back to you, Adele.
Thank you so much, Alan, and thank you again, Anne. It has been fantastic. I have been making notes and we have had quite a few questions come in. I know some of them are a bit more sensitive, and I know there's been a lot of settings that are struggling financially. So I will make some of these questions a lot more ambiguous, so to speak. So I won't mention any names, if that's okay. And this is one for you. Can you maybe give us an example of a balance that people can strike about maintaining the high quality education that, you know, gives you a great Ofsted ranking, as well as against the financial constraints? I know you mentioned a lot of the funding, but what is that balance that you think is important?
Well, having the finances and the money in place for those children, we're graded outstanding. So it hasn't had an impact on our grades and the service we offer to the children. In fact, it's been the other way around, because we were able to do those things, and we had it all in place, and we had the staff resources, and I've got some well-paid senior staff team that were able to sort of put all these things in place. We had Ofsted just over a year ago and we were graded outstanding. So it certainly doesn't have an impact. It doesn't make us less of a setting. It made us a better setting, being able to be financially secure. So yeah, and we're very popular in the area. So people come back again, not just by being outstanding. And yes, we do have it plastered on our wall outside, but certainly it didn't have any negative effect on the children, if only a positive side, because we could afford more high quality staff. I can pay the staff really well. We retain staff that like that, and yeah, we were able to financially put everything in place. And yes, we do have apprentices. We have 6 rooms in nursery. We have 5 apprentices at various stages of their development up to a level 5, and they sort of really keep us up to date with modern thoughts and modern practices, because my other staff help them. We don't get stale or anything like that. So yeah, being a business has helped us be outstanding.
Right. Just on the apprentices, Anne, do you have mentors within your setting that supports your apprentices, and does that help at all?
Yes, usually the room leader, whichever room they're in at the time, is their mentor. But I'm extra numerate to the children, and so are both of my deputies. So there's a lot of staff with time to be able to spend with them. And you rarely find me in the office, so I'm usually out on the nursery floor, sort of working with them, particularly because they've got off-the-job hours, which sort of is the biggest problem, because I've got to think of things what I've taught them and things like that. So if I'm with them, I always say, jot it down for your extra your off-the-job hours, and things like that. We go through it, but each room leader, and most of my room leaders in the 6 rooms, only 5 of them. Only one's not, all those 5 all started with me sort of 10, 12 years ago as apprentices, and have stayed with us, and really enjoy sort of mentoring the next generation. They all come in and go, she rolls her eyes at me again, and I just laugh because I go, that was you 10, 12 years ago. It's karma come back around. But yeah, apprentices are really good to have, and we mold them into our way. So yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. Allan, this is one for you. What is the most shocking financial statistic that you've come across working within early years settings?
That's hard to answer. I think it's when we see nurseries fail and go bust, and you think about all the effort that people have put in to get there. And it's not about you know, they've got the qualifications, they've built the building, and they've painted it, and they've set everything up, and they've got everything right, and then they brought all the staff in, and then the bills get bigger, and they get bigger, and they get bigger, and they're bigger, and they just can't pay them. And I think when we lose settings in this sector, it's utterly heartbreaking. What I find frustrating, though, and I'm on all of the Facebook groups that you guys are on, and you see the same things every time. Everybody blames the funding rates, and I'm not saying the funding rates are right for 1 second, but I am saying that a lot of people can be successful with them. And I think therefore the issue is about people not having the knowledge to make the business successful based or despite, perhaps is the right word, despite the funding rates.
Okay, thank you for that. And a lot of the groups that Allan's referred to on social media, a lot of people are asking about how they can access additional funding. And I know you've mentioned specific groups, but obviously there's the community as well around these settings that you guys are involved in. Do you use the community to support your setting, or how do you get the community involved to, one, get your work, your setting name out there, as well as get the community involved to try and do fundraising, etc., etc.? Is there anything you do in your setting?
Well, we do use the community a lot. We're out and about in our community, so they advertise for us. If the children go past, we walk up to the library, go to the park. We use some of the local shops. There's a little local cafe who will do us a little, the opposite to a baby chino like Costa would, but the little cafe do. So we often take that. They've got a little spare room downstairs that they use for other things, so they let them. So whilst we're out and about in our community, they talk about us. They go, oh, those little children from Prospect come in here. We use the care home down the road. We visit the care home. They bake buns for us and we sing for them. So it's all those things that people are talking about us. We're very much seen out in the community. And we are in a nice location where we're just off the main street, so the traffic's not too bad, but a lot of people will walk past us. So if we're having a little bun sale out on the drive, people see us. Occasionally, if we have a bigger fundraising, we're in the middle of fundraising for a defibrillator to be on our wall outside. And quite a lot of the local shops will donate prizes if we're having raffles and things like that, because they know us, because they see us about. The children all have high-vis jackets with Prospect House written on the back. Everybody knows who we are when we're out and about. So yeah, we do use the local community a lot. They are very supportive. We feel we're all part of it. A lot of the small businesses, there's a lot of independent businesses around us, and we sort of help each other out, really. We promote bits for them, and they promote bits for us. So yeah, we work like that. We are part of the community.
You mentioned that there could be some pockets of depravity within your area. Do you, your staff potentially, that's the other thing we see a lot of the Facebook groups, a lot of staff or a lot of settings incentivize their staff by using potentially food banks to supplement, potentially, support their families. Is there anything like that you do for your staff to retain? You mentioned staff retention. Is there something that you do to retain your staff, or is it incentivize your staff?
Well, as I say, we do really cheap food for them, which is really nice and been very helpful. We've got a couple of staff who live, young staff, they're living on their own. They were brought up in the care system. They're given a flat at sort of 17 and left to their own devices. And because I know my staff really well, I know where I can sort of put in a bit of help from them. As I say, we are in the middle of a very affluent area, which makes, I think, being poor much, much harder than if you're in an area where all those things are on your doorstep set up for you. But we are quite involved with Leeds Dads, which is a charity run to help support dads in the area. So they're very involved. So if we've got a dad who's struggling on his own, we can put him in touch with those things. We certainly know where the local food bank is if anybody needs it. A couple of the churches in the area. Both of the churches that do it are actually very close to the deprived areas. There's two areas with flats in it, which tend to still be social housing. A lot of the social housing was sold off in the area, but the flats still stay there. So we know where they are, so we can push our families that way. And just being able to sort of, if they've got a child with a disability, help them fill in the forms for a disability living allowance, and the other things that are available are all there. And that's because we do know our area and our setting and our parents. Yeah.
So local knowledge is really key from what I can hear. It
is. And that's where we have an advantage than a big chain, because they tend to be unpersonal like that. Yeah.
So it's right, as what you say, isn't it? Your USP needs to stand out, and you've differentiated that very, very well. So thank you for that. Allan, you'll be pleased to know this one for you as well. In the face of technology, I can't say that word. I can't say that word, Allan. Sorry. Technological. That's the word. Thanks, Gail. What financial considerations should early years providers keep in mind to stay current and competitive? You're on mute, Allan. Sorry.
Sorry about that. I think there's lots of technology out there and there's lots of things happening, but we shouldn't be too clever. The reality is every single person needs some form of comprehensive software package, and every single person needs some form of comprehensive fee collection package. And if you have those two things and you are billing properly and you're making sure there's no revenue leakage, then hopefully you start to become profitable. If you become profitable, you are able to pay your staff at higher rates. Anne's comment a minute ago, she keeps saying it, we are very profitable, and then she spun it into we pay good rates of pay for our staff. Now, that sounds like an amazing setting. It sounds like it's in an amazing community. But the reality is Anne has all of the key components within the business right, and that enables her to keep going. So I would urge everybody to get a proper software system in place. I mean, I still think ours is the best, and it's certainly half the price of everybody else's, and we do that for a specific reason. So I'm biased, but I don't really care what systems people have. The point is you have to have a comprehensive system in place, and you have to make sure that you are billing everything properly. There are lots of then sort of clever knacks. Anne talked about the fact that, you know, post 3 p.m. she charges a different rate. My view is I do that slightly separately, and I charge a different rate on a Wednesday, because we all know that parents want Wednesdays and Tuesdays and Thursdays, and Mondays and Fridays are the least busy. So I'd make them Mondays and Fridays the days I give free entitlement. We don't call it that anymore, but you know what I mean. I give it on those 2 days and make Wednesdays chargeable. So there are lots of options around that. But my answer is don't be too clever. Just put one of the leading software systems in place.
Thank you for that. And we had a question from one of the settings asking, how will nurseries be delivering the funding when all children get 30 hours? Will this change sessions? I'm hoping that's the right question, if that makes sense.
Well, at the moment, obviously, we don't know a great deal of details. We know we're supposed to be doing it. It starts in April next year when the 2-year-olds get their 15 hours. We're still waiting for some details. What we know is our market, the majority of our market is working parents that need childcare from 7:30 in the morning till 6 o'clock at night, either 2, 3, 4 or 5 days. So that is our core business. We know that's our core business. So what the funding affects is the price that the parents will be paying for what they need. It won't really affect how we change our business. If we have low occupancy and we're looking at diversifying, we'd have to do that. But at the moment, because of the area we live in and our client group, our core business is those people that go out to work. So as long as we can keep that right and we won't move it towards the funding will have to benefit the parents and not change our system, because our system works for us in our area. And I know that's not the same in every area or every setting, but I know around my area, when I was bringing my children up a lot of years ago, there was lots of smaller churches had little preschools in. There was little independent preschools that did 4 mornings a week or whatever. They're all gone because parents are working. They don't use those anymore. It's knowing your client group really and what fits with that. So as I say, that's my client group. The majority of my parents are working parents that need those long hours. If you're in a different area, it's a different answer, I'm afraid, but I know what my core group is, and that's where my main look is. Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. We had a really quite a long message, so apologies if I read this out from Kirsty. Hope you don't mind me saying your name. We put it on the chat, so which is quite concerning, but maybe Anne or Alan, both of you can maybe contribute to this. I know there's some marketing aspects to this as well, but Anne, for you, Kirsty's saying they have a very aggressive competitor which is illegally set up by a previous owner right next door to them, which has brought a setting of 100 places in the setting. So they are losing a lot of parents' children to them due to the undercutting their costs, particularly holiday clubs, as they captured the only local school who needs the wraparound care. They are trying to uphold a stronger reputation with word of mouth and good marketing and do technically everything, have a more experienced team, but most of them have been for 5 years plus. But they run a business and they've done everything that you've already suggested, Anne. They're asking if you've got any other ideas of how they can educate the community with a soft touch, but to drive more business to them. Maybe about toddler groups, birthday parties, weekends, etc. What has been successful for you or for anybody else on this group, just to give you your ideas. They're running at a very low cost currently. Their normal proportions of parents leave due to price, and they're actually only charging £63 a day for over 2-year-olds. That includes nappies, wipes and food, which is a really low cost already. Is there anything else that you can suggest to this setting?
There's one little thing that we did a good few years ago when numbers were quite low. we had suddenly 4 chains opened in our area within a 12-month period, and we noticed a drop. And this was out of Allan's book. He said, look at things that are low cost but have big impact. And what we decided to do was, when we took on a new pet, when doing a show around, we offered the first month free. So they got the first month free. They'd been really hard up because they'd been on maternity leave. Their costs are still the same. They've got mortgages to pay, bills to pay. They've got a new baby. And suddenly a nursery wants probably a month's upfront fees and a deposit and everything else. And that was quite expensive, particularly from these chains that were opening on our doorstep. So we offered a much lower admin cost to begin with, and we offered the first month free. What we were actually finding was a lot of parents were coming to us and saying, I can't pay you till the end of the month anyway, till I get paid. The child's starting on the 1st of September, I can't pay till the 28th of September till I get paid. So they were going to pay in the arrears anyway. And so by offering that month's free, they could come to us, and by the time they'd had 3 children and 4 years for each child, it was only 1 month out of the whole lot that we'd sort of given away, really. And parents, when they were really hard up, came to us. We tempted him in with that month free to begin with. And as Allan said, you know, if each person that comes to you is worth £48,000 to £50,000 per child, and the family have 2 or 3 children, by the time they eventually leave you, that 1 month free was nothing to us, really. We were going to get paid at the end of the month by them because they haven't got it up front. So that one was a big sort of drawing at the time when the big chains were pounding on us. So yeah, yeah, that was, yeah.
Thank you so much, Anne. And Allan, have you got anything to add?
Well, I've sort of had my thunder stolen, haven't I? Yeah, what I would add is be better than them. Deliver a service which is so distinctly better in every single respect. And, you know, unfortunately, and I don't say this with any pleasure, childcare has become a commodity. I don't think that's right, but it has been. So the question you need to be asking yourselves is, what can you do? What additional ways can you make it better than anybody else in your area? And there's lots of stuff in the book about how to make your service wow, what you can do to make it significantly different. But that's the way to attack those sorts of people. The only thing I didn't like with what you read out, though, is it said that the people were set up illegally. I don't like the sound of that. So they need to look into that and find out what illegally means, because that never sounds nice.
Now, the only thing I will add with a marketing hat on is look at your website, look at social media channels in your local area, promote it with testimonials from existing parents that are very happy with the service that you do. Make sure that is visible. As like Allan said, what makes you stand out against, you know, potentially lower cost, but actually is the value there? You know, what is the care that the children are going to receive from the other setting if they are doing it for much lower cost? So make your setting stand out is the only way you're going to stand out against anybody else. And it's like Allan said, with the value. Tina's just mentioned on the chat saying that she would get parents to bring their own nappies and wipes, because that way parents prefer to have the choice of what products are used for their child. I don't know if that's something that anybody else has tried before or are using, or you providing your own. And what is your experience with that?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch the question. What was?
Tina just said that her suggestion would be that parents bring their own nappies and wipes, because a lot of parents prefer to use their own products.
Yeah, we don't do that. We include it in the bills occasionally if they want something different, because we do use the local supermarket's nappies. My biggest problem with parents bringing their own is somebody brings in 2 and we need 3, and somebody brings in a huge box and we simply don't have the storage space. So we build it into our costs. But I can see the advantages of asking parents to do all of that. But for us, it was a no-go, because we don't have the storage space. People want to bring in a box full, and us have to tell them when they're done. And as I say, somebody will bring 2 in, and you need 3. But yeah, occasionally parents say, usually with allergies or something, oh, I can only use these, and they will provide them. Yeah, and quite a few of our parents use this reusable nappies these days, so they obviously provide themselves. Yeah, but no, if we had the space, maybe we would have gone down that road, but it just seemed too much hassle. Yeah.
Brilliant. Alan, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I don't like it. I'm afraid I don't like it at all, because it just adds too much complexity. You know, the staff on the shop floor, they have enough pressure on. Imagine they picked up the wrong box, or they picked up the wrong wipes or something, and the child goes home with somebody else's nappies on, and then you've got a complaint on your hands. In my view, anything that adds complexity needs to be removed. So I think Anne's right. You build it into your price. I personally wouldn't add that level of flexibility in. It just adds another thing to go wrong and for someone to complain about, despite best intentions.
Brilliant. I'm just going to add something to the chat. I think Claire asked right in the beginning. Claire asked about how can they get parents to fill in the forms. So I've just added that in. I'll send it to her personally, but it's just some information about how you potentially can use mechanisms to help your parents complete the forms, or incentivize them. What is the benefits to their child to make sure that they complete those forms, because it's about benefits, isn't it? I wanted to say just thank you so much. If there's any other questions, you can take us off mute and ask any questions you have before we close today's webinar. Parenti don't normally have a webinar in December, because we know you're all very busy with nativity plays and getting your planning done for the next year. But we'll be ready and waiting for you guys in our January webinar, which will be available to book in a couple of weeks' time for our January session. So any last minute questions? Julie's just asked, our local authority has added EYPP to the termly funding form. What does that mean, Julie? Okay, I'll move on to the next one. I don't know what that means, sorry. Toby has said it's very useful. Do you get access to a recording of this? Yes, you do. It's sent out to you via email, as well as anybody who's attended this webinar today can claim your free CPD certificate for your own personal development as well. Joe has just said, how do people go about charging for additional costs? We charge a resource fee, which must obviously be voluntary, but we wonder how other settings approach this. Does anybody else have opportunity to answer that question, or what they do within their setting? Or Anne, did you want to add to that?
Yes, well, we offer a completely free service, which is the hours that around what schools would offer. But if that's not what the parents want, we offer a premium price, so that then they choose, because obviously our core staff are working parents, they all tend to pick the premium service, which they know is going to include extra costs. Occasionally we have children who leave us to go to the school nursery. They'll go, oh, they're going to go to that school, we want them to go to the school nursery. And then they're ringing us up at school holidays going, oh, there's no cover at school holidays, can you have them? And we go, sorry, no. You know, this is why we have a premium service to fit with that. So we do offer exactly what schools offer, free. But as I say, most of our core business is working parents, so that doesn't fit. And that's why, unfortunately, the school nurseries, most of our schools in the area used to have them, but only 2 now have them, because they didn't fit what parents needed in the area. So I think as long as you're very upfront with parents and show them what they've got on offer and what they can have for free, they tend to choose the service that fits them best.
Brilliant, thank you. I think Julie has clarified to say that her local authority has added that form to another form, so there's no longer a requirement to fill that in separately. I think that's just the point I was trying to make there. And we're going to wrap up quickly with hopefully the last question. Pedro has asked, do you offer a set number of funded places? I think you mentioned earlier in your presentation. How many places do you offer, Anne?
We don't offer a set number. Virtually all of our 3 and 4 year olds, all of them are entitled to the 15 hours at the universal setting. So everybody uses that. And most of the other children are entitled to their 30 hours anyway. So everybody who's in the setting is funded that way. We do have some funded 2-year-olds. It really isn't a massive amount, and I do appreciate some settings in more deprived areas have virtually every child on sort of funded that way. But in our setting, that's not the case. So we usually have about 10 children who are funded at 2-year-olds. It's pretty average, but we don't restrict it because it's not massive in comparison to our places. Maybe if that changed, we'd have to look at that. But that's one of the things, we never are afraid to look and revisit things if things are changing. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. I'm smiling because I can hear the children in the background. It's nice to hear. Okay, one last one just quickly from Kirsty, which is a good point actually. Kirsty is saying they have the extra fees as an opt-out function, which is quite clever actually. For sundries for funded children. This includes nappies and food and wipes, and mainly around the food for 3 to 4 year olds. She's saying that they are charging £7 a day, which is £4 for the morning session and £3 for the afternoon. And they actually get no parents opting out, only if they are fussy eaters, which we all have some of those in our houses, don't we? But yes, thank you so much. This has been a fantastic, and Anne and Alan, thank you so much for your valuable time. As long as everybody else, I know you're so busy. Yeah. Like I said, this will be recorded. Watch it again on YouTube. Share it with everybody else, please. And we will welcome you all back in January. Have a fantastic festive season. And we look forward to seeing all the photographs on your social media channels. Thanks, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.